to Writers Read. My name is Katherine Cerulean, and I'm the founder of the Athens Writers Association. The AWA was created to promote the goal of support, fellowship, and increasing awareness for Athens area writers. We have a wonderful program for you tonight with 7 writers plus myself reading. Does this sound all right? Too loud.
I'm check it from the back.
Okay. They'll be reading 1 to 2 original pieces of work for you, and we hope you'll enjoy. Feel free to pick up a program on the back table to learn more about our writers, and feel free to get up at any time to get more drinks. We hope you have a wonderful night. We're so proud to have you with us. I'll be reading first tonight from my novel. It is called A Caged Heart Still Beats. It is the story of a man named Shepley Grant in Regency, England, who is the, sorry. It's the story of a young man named Shepley, who is the master of a remote estate, but he has been enslaved in a cage for 4 years by his servants. Then Lena, the one person Shepley's been allowed to write to and a childhood friend, seeks him out and discovers his cage in the woods. Caged Heart. Shepley, hello. Shepley hopped up from his mattress, his joy matching her own. I thought you wouldn't come, not in such a storm. Then you must not know me very well. What's monsoon to stop me? Besides, I had to. I want to let you out. The words were barely out of her mouth, but Lena knew them to be true. She smiled as the storm cloud circled and boasted overhead. Shepley stared at her, not moving, scarcely breathing. He could not have heard her right. It must be the storm. It must be all in his mind. All was confusion. And all was confusion. Because, more, Shepley didn't know how to feel about this woman, this strange angel with the jagged face. He had been used to perfection, at least in ideals and stories, and she was not his dream come true, but instead very much her own unusual creature, which he was finding more appealing all the time. He had already decided her features were much better than he had first given them credit for. The lighting must have been very bad when they had first met. Shepley finally swallowed and tried to breathe normally. You have a sick sense of humor, teasing a caged man. This is not a joke, but you have to promise me something. I think my line is anything. Lena stepped close, right up to the bars. You have to promise me to go back inside your cage at the end of the night. I trust you. I want to have an adventure with you. But whatever your reason for being here, but until I'm certain, we must maintain the status quo. Is that agreeable to you? Shepley felt the old, fierce anger rise up. How could that possibly be agreeable to me? How can you even ask that? I cannot begin to comprehend it. Lena reached deeply through the bars and touched Shepley's arm, pulling him close. But I am asking it nonetheless. And the evening is young and the wind is wild. Will you not come out with me? And against all his reason, Shepley found himself smiling at her. What is the worst that could happen? I cannot make myself go back inside this cage, and I am free. Only a fool would allow such a prison twice. Shepley nodded, and Lena disappeared gleefully into the darkness. reappearing moments later with the key in her hand. Never before had his freedom been so close at hand. Even to the last, he thought it would amount to nothing but a cruel joke, with Lena laughing and running away at the last moment. Instead, she placed the key in the lock, and oh, how hard he worked not to grab her hand and force it, but instead to stand back as she turned the rough tumbler. But turn it did, and released. And she hung the lock aside and tasked open the door. Shepley leapt into her arms, overjoyed. He was dancing and jumping and spinning around the meadow, never releasing her hand, with no rhyme or reason to what he was doing. Finally, he was out of breath from the unused to exertion, and stopped, the world spinning, one hand upon his leg to steady himself, the other still laced through her fingers. Reluctantly, he let her go. But oh, how the joy flowed through him. How had he ever taken this for granted? He wanted to be free and rambling, never tied to one place and stasis for the rest of his life. If he were free, he wanted to be truly free, as unhobbled as any mare pony or bereft zephyr. He turned to Lena. Let's go running. And so they did, through forest and meadow, field and rock. He would grow out of breath and stop, but as soon as able, he'd sprint forward again, and neither lack of light nor heavy wind to dissuade him. At last, gloriously soaking in dew, they came to a quiet high meadow he swore he had never seen before, even in the rip-roaring days of his youth. He threw himself down upon the wet heather and noticed the moon peeking from behind the fast-moving clouds. The storm was passing away. Lena sat down beside him. Shepley had already asked her several times if she were warm enough, and so he supposed he did not ask again. Instead, he took her hand. The stars never looked so good before. Lena nodded. Because you are free. Shepley shook his head. Because you are here. Thank you.